Greetings YouTube. Today I'm talking about a new role-playing game that I was given for the purposes of doing an overview. I can't really call it a full-fledged view, I don't think, because I haven't played this system and it's new to me. But I have read it, and I'm here to present a synopsis of it to the viewer of this video. And the game in question is called P.E.R.K, which stands for the Pretty Easy Role-Playing Kit, which is very reminiscent of GURPS, which made me smile when I saw it. And it is authored by Buddy Wagner of Dire Ninja Media. Now, this system is based upon... sorry, my cat is trying to help. Whenever I start talking on camera, she hops in my lap. I think I've trained her in a way I shouldn't have. This uses a dice pool system. And the beauty of the dice pool system they're using in P.E.R.K is they use these. Your standard D6. Though this is a exceptional D6, you could pick up enough dice for your average player to, at a dollar store for $1, because your average player needs about 9 or 10 dice. Your GM's going to probably need more than that. And the dice pools are fairly simple in the sense that you're not going to need a whole lot of them, and results of a standard success is 4 or better, so a 50-50 chance. But there are challenge ratings to certain things, and each success you have in your dice pool tells you how well you've done. So for example, the challenge ratings range from trivial, which is a 1, to extreme, which is a 5, and they can also have a number following that for results that require more than a 5. So it could be X2 would mean a 7. Dice rolls are open in the sense that if you succeed at getting a 6, that is counted as being 1 die better. So it's counted as a 7, and you get to roll again. And if you roll a 6, it's counted as an 8, and you get it's an exploding die. Not a radical concept. People have used that before, but I've always liked it myself because it allows successes to pop up in the kind of random way they do sometimes in real life. Now, one of the things I like about this particular die pool, it made me smile when I started reading this, in that I used a very similar die pool mechanic in the past with die 6s. And though these people did not steal this idea from me, I used this 20 years ago, and I never spoke to anyone outside the people that used it. So nobody knew about this. It was just kind of serendipity that they came up to use a very similar mechanic. The game uses 3 main dice pools for your character development: focus, stamina, and strength. The focus is the mental equivalent of strength and stamina. Stamina is obviously for character endurance tests, things like that, while strength is obviously about things that deal with physical strength. In addition, each player will get action dice dependent on their level. The default is 3, and it can go up as you gain levels at higher levels. And these are used as dynamic additions to other rolls. So if you have 3, and every round you can decide they go to attack, defense, move, and skills. So you can decide every round that they go to one of these different abilities, and you can't sink more than 2 of them into any one. But this does allow a lot of that dynamic flexibility for for your player to say, okay, in this round I really think I've got to have to succeed at this attack, so I'm going to put 2 of my action dice into my roll. Damage is based on the weapon and on any pertinent skills that you have with it. So some weapons are obviously going to be doing more damage than others. Some weapons are going to allow you to have range attacks, things like that. And this one, they say pretty easy role-playing kit. This is a very generic system. While some of the information in here is very much aimed at your classic fantasy, this could easily be used for all kinds of different genres. This is not being aimed at one particular one. It's being aimed as it's being created as a generic system. So we have the chapters. First is the system itself, dealing with time. These are 1 to 2 second round. The dice, obviously, measurements, which are they're using American Standard. Maps, which are hex-based, which made me smile as well. Kind of a throwback to the old school early days of gaming. Then we have character traits, which you can use to help create the particular character you want. Vital statistics, dice pools, your size, derived statistics, experience points, and level. The perks you can buy to make your character customized to what you want Heck, they're called perks for a reason. The game's called P.E.R.K for a reason. And the skills that you can acquire. And they're quite extensive. And one of the things I like about the skill system is they're using skills that have expanded subroutines. So athletics, and athletics have things under it. Mechanics, and mechanics has things under it. I like that kind of thing. I always have. And they have an actual section on step-by-step character creation, which is nice. Then they discuss chapters dedicated to perks, to skills, and to gear. Types of gear, crafting gear, buying and selling gear, sampling some sample gear for your game. Then they have a chapter dedicated to combat, which isn't huge, which is nice. It's a little distressing to me when so many role-playing games dedicate so much to combat. But they talk about the turns and phases, combat actions, attacking and defending, movement in combat, skill in combat, using templates in combat, physical templates, like to see if a weapon has which coverage on a map, things like that. Damage and healing, surprise, and morale. And they're using a defense roll, and they're doing also the armor and shields you're using are giving you DR. So it's a combination of you can move out of the way of things and you can block damage provided by the stuff you're wearing. Reading the section on combat, talking about the different dynamic moves you can make, grappling and throwing and things like that. I don't know why. Maybe it was the style of the writing from Mr. Wagner, but it really hit me that this could be used to really play out some full-blown professional wrestling. I have no idea why this thought popped into my head. But I'm reading it and I'm like, you could really do some cool stuff with that. And it made me smile. Then we have Chapter 8, Special Abilities. Using special abilities, magic, and psionics. And they are quite extensive. While this is a generic system, many people will be using it for fantasy and science fiction. Those are the most common genres you're going to be seeing. So, the magic system is fairly extensive. And the psionic system is fairly extensive. And you do and don't have to. You don't have to use them if you don't want to. You could run a game with this that is pure real world without any of them, and you could easily tune things to your liking as far as what can be used by deciding which magical elements are allowed and which are not. And then we have narrating. The game master in this game is called the narrator. Deciding on a setting, preparation, running a game, optional rules, which is always nice to have people talking about those. Then they have a bestiary, which made me smile because the artwork is the animal artwork of the real world animals was very reminiscent of first edition D&D. Very nice line work. I really quite appreciated that. Then we have creature perks, so you can add things to creatures. Diseases, toxins, animal statistics, and of course an index. So having both a table of contents, which I am looking at, and an index is a big bonus to my mind. So if you like dice pool systems and you're fond of your classic die sixes, and I don't know who isn't, if you're a gamer, you have lots of these things, and even if you're starting out, again, you can buy them at a dollar store. You can get them yard sales from Yahtzee games. Their die sixes are dead easy to get your hands on. If you like that style of mechanic, and I can see the attraction because it offers a lot of flexibility to a GM, deciding how many dice are available for players to have. If you want to do something a little more bombastic and wild, you could decide if there's more dice available. If you want to do a little grittier, you play it straight. You don't have fantasy and science fiction elements like psionics and magic. So I think this game allows itself to fit a lot of things that GMs are going to want to use, or narrators in the case of the perks. And I think it offers a lot of flexibility as far as the different skills they have and different perks that you can buy for your character. And one of the interesting things is that the classes are essentially just big perks. They're not written up like the way they are in D&D or Pathfinder, or even in HARP, another game that has an acronym. They're basically just little. They reminded me of second edition AD&D kits that you added to a character. So you're building a generic character, and then you add in a magic using ability on top of that, which I thought was nicely done. And it didn't take up huge amounts of space, and it didn't overshadow the fact that the game is really designed to be flexible and isn't trying to shoehorn you into a particular game style. because you don't ever have to take any of those. You could just build your character purely with other perks, which is nice. So I think this is a game that anybody who really enjoys a generic system that uses a dice pool, this is something you're going to want to look at. If you're tired of the classic D20, and I can understand that. If you're looking for something that isn't, quite like some of the narrative games out there that don't appeal to everyone, like I'm not a narrative game fan. I think P.E.R.K might fit your needs and might be something that you would find useful, or at least an entertaining read. So go take a look at it. I think it's going to be worth your time. I know that I was glad that they asked me to do the introduction, introduced me to the game, and I think that it could be useful in the future for myself. If I ever decided to return to a dice pool mechanic, I know that I would want to use die 6s that would be what my default would be. I just happen to like them. I like some of the systems that use die 10s. I think that's much more awkward because die 10s are much less available, whereas die 6s are everywhere. Some people don't have dice collections like some of us do. Some of us only have access to the most common dice available, your die 6. So go give P.E.R.K a read. You may very well find it fits what you want to play.